Hey YouTubers, this is a video about the Smith & Wesson Model 61 Escort. I was inspired to do this video in part from another video I saw on YouTube by TFB TV, and I don't know if you can see that, but it says Smith & Wesson Model 61 Field Strip Smith's Lemon. Apparently he bought this gun at a gun store or pawn shop. It's been out of production for about 40 years and claimed it was really unreliable for him, which is perfectly fine, but he went on to say that it was the reason for it being discontinued, and that's really just not my experience or the experience of others, and I don't think it's really accurate. I just happen to own one, and I've had about 100 rounds through it, and it's a great little gun. I haven't had any misfire issues with it at all. Just real briefly, some features. Obviously it's a super small gun. It's really cool. It was made famous in the movie Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro. In a famous scene, he buys a bunch of guns, and this one in particular, the Model 61 Smith & Wesson, was featured later in the movie, where he made a mechanism to deploy it from under his sleeve really quick. It has a mag release from the bottom, and right now I have a snap cap in it. It's a single action hammer fired, and it has a hammer cocked indicator. Right now that indicator is flush. We just ejected the snap cap that was in there, and now it's protruding. If we go ahead and pull the trigger, it's flush again. It's a nice 6-pound, really crisp, almost no take up trigger, which is pretty good. I don't have a lot of complaints about it as a safe fire. And before we get into any more details about it, let's talk about the history. Smith & Wesson back between 63 and 66 did a lot of research on this gun and kind of finalized the design. It took them a couple of years to produce it, and they started selling them in 69 as the Model 61. They quickly went to the Dash 1, which added the mag safety release where you couldn't pull the trigger with the mag out. The follow-on was the Dash 2, and they changed the barrel. Instead of being pressed in, it was now threaded in, and it has a threaded insert, which is cool in that you can undo this and put an adapter and a suppressor or silencer on it. And I have seen videos with a silencer on this gun, and it is pretty good. It was based on a Pipier Bayard design, and they eventually went to a Dash 3. Before the Dash 3, they had tested the Dash 2 with the frame, which was die-cast aluminum, and torture tested it with some high-pressure rounds and did not fail the frame, but they did fail some internal linkage. They eventually went to the Dash 3, which is a forged aluminum frame, and it's even stronger than the original die-cast frame. It holds 5 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber, and you can still actually buy reproduction magazines for not too much money, I happen to find. Now, why was it discontinued? Was it super unreliable? I don't think that's the reason. It was, first of all, unusual appearance. It didn't really fit into Smith & Wesson's product line, which was high-quality revolvers, and also they didn't want to probably be associated with small concealed weapons. In 1968, there was a Gun Control Act, and that banned all guns with short barrels from being imported in the country. So there were a lot of little Berettas and little PPKs that couldn't come into the country. So Smith & Wesson probably saw a market for it. But by the early 70s, when they discontinued this, the market had been flooded with what they call Saturday Night Special. Really cheaply made pot metal guns in the USA. They weren't imported, they were made here, but they were really, really bad guns, and they were just sold so cheaply. Everybody had them, and of course they were used in a lot of crime. So Smith & Wesson probably wanted to separate themselves from that. Now, was all their effort wasted? No, I don't think so, because about 13 years later, Smith & Wesson came up with a whole new line of guns based on this design. They came up with the 422 and the 622, which were much larger frame guns, but still with the barrel underneath and the slide above. And I happen to have one of the variants of the 422, 622, which is the 2213. This is, as you can see, shares a lot of similarities, but this gun happens to have been 8 rounds, and I have a snap cap in there. We'll pull the trigger. 3-pound trigger, super crisp, really no complaints about the trigger. The safety's up here where I prefer it. The mag release is a little odd. It's right there. And they also made the 2214, which was the blue version of this gun. A really great gun, and they built them from about 87 to 1999. So that's almost a 13-year run. So clearly they had a commitment to the gun, and they're cool designs, and with the barrel so much lower, they have much less recoil. Not that a 22 has a lot of recoil. And as far as reliability, they are rim-fired semi-automatics. They're not going to be as reliable as a revolver or a center-fired semi-automatic. But I've had no misfires with this and no misfires with this. I actually have less rounds through this one than the Model 61. But would I carry this as a concealed carry gun as a primary? Well, I do have a pocket holster. No, but it could be used as a hideaway gun or a backup gun, and in fact that's probably what it was made for originally, for law enforcement to be a backup gun or for ladies. But you know, I have some 9mm that are just slightly larger, and so that's what I prefer to carry as a primary gun. Was this a sales success? No. And probably the reason why they discontinued it, they just didn't sell enough. Is it a classic? Absolutely. And because of that, they're collector's items, and the prices are going up on these. I won't tell you what I paid for it, but I think I got a really good deal on it, and I can assure you if I ever decide to sell it, and I don't plan on it doing that anytime soon, I'll certainly not lose any money on it. But so it's a cool little gun. It's practical. It's accurate. I can group targets fairly well at 7 yards. And according to another blog somebody else wrote, they found that it was very reliable, and that with the proper ammunition, it you know, could be a service weapon even today. And again, some people claim that the particular ammo didn't work well on it. I used some bulk ammo, and I've used the CCI, and it was reliable with both. Anyway, thanks for watching.